There is a particular kind of exhaustion that comes from measuring yourself against everyone else. It creeps in quietly: a friend's promotion, a sibling's engagement, a stranger's success story on the internet, and suddenly your own life feels like it's running late. Late to some schedule you never actually agreed to, toward a destination nobody clearly defined. But that schedule was never yours to begin with. We grow up absorbing the idea that life has a correct sequence: school, then career, then relationship, then family, then fulfillment. Each stage arriving on cue, like stops on a train that runs on time. Deviate from the schedule and you risk missing certain stops. What this framework ignores is that human beings are not trains. We carry different weights, travel different terrain, and are heading, often, toward entirely different places. Comparing your pace to someone else's isn't just unfair, it's an error. You are not running the same race. The people who seem furthest ahead often simply started in a different place or chose a more visible road. What you rarely see is the decade of quiet struggle behind their overnight success, the false starts before their straight path, or the private costs of moving so fast. Speed has a cost that rarely shows up on the invoice. When we rush our growth to keep pace with others, we often skip the very experiences that growth requires. The uncomfortable in-between period when nothing seems to be working is often when the most important internal work is happening. The slow season where you aren't producing much externally might be exactly when you're becoming someone who can sustain what comes next. Grief that isn't fully felt tends to resurface. Lessons skipped over have a way of repeating. Relationships entered before you're ready often end in the same place you started from. Moving at your own pace isn't laziness. It's the recognition that some things cannot be hurried without being broken. Progress is easier to see when it's linear and public: a title, a number, a milestone that fits in a sentence. But most of the growth that genuinely changes a person is harder to photograph. Learning to ask for help, recognizing a pattern you've been repeating for years, getting more comfortable with uncertainty, choosing honesty when it's inconvenient. These don't show up on any leaderboard, but they are the substance of a life actually being lived and examined. When you stop measuring yourself against other people's visible output, you get to ask a more interesting question. What does forward look like for me right now? Not in comparison to someone else's trajectory, but relative to who you were 6 months ago and who you want to become. History is full of people who moved on an unconventional timeline and created something no early arrival could have managed. Vera Wang didn't design her first dress until she was 40. Daniel Defoe published Robinson Crusoe at 59. Julia Child didn't release her first cookbook until she was 49. Grandma Moses began her painting career at 78. These aren't just feel-good exceptions. They're reminders that timing is rarely the point, readiness is. And readiness cannot always be manufactured on demand. There is a version of arriving late that is really just arriving fully with more experience, more self-knowledge, more clarity about what you actually want. That kind of arrival is worth the wait. Something quietly shifts when you stop racing. You become less threatened by other people's progress. Their success stops feeling like commentary on your life. You can be genuinely glad for them because you're no longer measuring yourself against them. This is not indifference, it's freedom. The freedom to want good things for others without it costing you anything because you're no longer in competition with them to begin with. Growing at your own pace doesn't mean abandoning ambition. It means aiming it differently, at depth rather than speed, at meaning rather than optics, at a life that actually fits rather than one that simply looks right from the outside. It means being honest about what you want, rather than what you're supposed to want by now. It means giving yourself permission to take the long road when the long road is the right one. The world will keep moving fast. Other people will keep achieving visible things on visible schedules. None of that has to be your clock. You get to decide what counts as progress. You get to decide what pace is sustainable. You get to arrive in your own time, and when you do, arrive fully. Growth is not a race. It never was.